Good evening, Music Multiverse listeners. This is Beyond Your Radio and a new show. Welcome to Panelists Favorites Show. This is where our panelists get to talk about their favorites on any and all categories. And tonight, we're kicking it off with the ladies. We're going to do the favorite female solo albums. Now, this is not about critical acclaim. Maybe it is, because maybe it's a critical darling. It's really more about what our panelists love. Maybe it's because they play it over and over again. Maybe it puts them in a mood, helps them through a mood, or it's near and dear to their ear because it has a certain connection. No matter what, no one is wrong, except Alex. It's their choice. We'd love to read about your choices too, so don't forget to leave a comment. This one's going to be a little bit of fun, I think. The panelists tonight, all the way from Hilo, Hawaii, Chef Jeff. We have Coach Alex Kaluzny of Lockport, New York. We have the Floridian Jeff Young, who hasn't unmasked yet. And the marketing goddess, Susan Kulagowski from upstairs in the house.
This isn't the Masked Singer. I don't get why we have to unmask Jeff.
So we each have picked 5, and we're going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So each person will reveal one at a time. So we're going to start off with our Patreon, our biggest patron, Chef Jeff, who lovely television was given to me so that you guys could see better than that little tiny piece of hoo-hoo I had. So without further ado, it's panelists' favorite female solo album. Take it away, Chef Jeff.
Aloha, how are you out there in Radio Land? Well, my first pick could have been my, this would be number 5 of my top 5. Could have been 1 or 5. It doesn't matter. This is an extraordinary album. And some people claim it's one of the best album of all time, no matter what. A lot of people want to love this with this album. Tonight, I introduced the album, Carole King's Tapestry, 1971. This is one of her best works. This is her second album. It is very bluesy, has rock, R&B. It's warm, it's organic. It's really, really a nice album. It's like most Carole King albums, in my opinion, it's relaxing music. She has a few, upbeats, but most of her stuff is thoughtful. You have to listen to it a little bit to understand it. Most of the melody is very rhythmic, so it really makes sense if you listen to it. She has a couple good songs in it. It's Too Late and You Got a Friend. Very, very, very on the radio a lot, especially back in 71. 71, I was 17 years old, 18 years, something like that. So it was something that you had at all the dance parties and stuff like that. So it's really a good album. If you guys out there have not heard of it, because it goes back 60 years almost, or 50 years, but go ahead and listen to it. So we will wait for my number 4. Mark, back to you.
Okay, that's an excellent pick. It's a great pick. Definitely is on the greatest albums of all time. We're gonna go now, I think, to Alex.
Well, with my first wrong album of the night, I go with Pure Heroine by Lorde. This album is just, I don't know, it's just had a good vibe with me. I'll start by saying with my 5 tonight, and we kind of said this a little bit in the pre-show, I struggled to find a lot of just straight female solo albums that I've listened to. So really try to draw from what I find myself catching a lot of songs I have that I just go, oh, this is on this album. Oh, okay. I know this, and this on it. So this to me was a good one. It has a little bit of that mellower vibe to it. I've always appreciated her ability to sing, even with the modern flavor of the beats that go on behind her. Really was kind of surprised because when at least with one of the tracks, her main single off of it, Royals, I kind of always joked in my head. I said, what a great play this would be for, like anybody with a team name of Royals. And then to find out it actually was inspired by her seeing a photograph of George Brett once to write the song in a half an hour. So one of the few things I was just kind of like, oh, and the lyrics don't even match this having anything to do with baseball. So, yeah, no, it's just one of my favorite albums. I think, Team was a single that has always stood for me. It's been something I've listened to, songs like Tennis Court. I mean, things like that, well, sports reference. Now I'm starting to realize this as I talk about the album. So, overall though, just good mellow album, good casual listening one for me. So,
all right, good choice. Good choice. I don't know. Maybe that album for me. I'm the next one. I can't remember what the name is.
And that one, I believe too. I know we were talking about years that they were around too. That came out in 2013.
Okay. All right, Jeff Young. Or no, I'm sorry, Sue. You're next.
I know. So I went with The Essential Barbra Streisand. I think it was released in 2002. And I chose this one. I actually got really into Barbara during the college years. So kind of weird because, most everybody else goes grunge and punk, but I just got drawn into her story, and this album kind of encapsulates all of the genres, all the different, seasons of her career, really. And I suggest that anybody who wants to get into Barbara, and you should, if you haven't, you really should. She's got such an interesting story. I would start from the beginning, because she really does have an incredible story. But this album has all the ones that you would know, People and Happy Days, Don't Rain on My Parade, Send in the Clowns. It's got it all. It's great listening, great for a road trip. And it's Barbara. What can I say? She's my number 5.
Okay. So for album buyers out there, she has an extensive catalog. So her albums, I mean, actual vinyl, there are tons out there you can get it as steal. She and if you're into that, the CDs probably easy to come by too. All right, Jeff Young, what do you have for us? And I don't have any backing for you. You're on your own.
I should have sent you something. So my first one is also a band with the lead singer Emily Haynes from the band Metric.
Okay.
From their 4th album in 1988 is Fantasies. And that's like really the album where I really started getting into them. And I just thought the way she sang, her voice, combined with the band, you have a wide variety of tracks that are just fun to dark to just catchy.
Yeah, she was on her own at one point, right? Before any of this. If I'm
Not sure.
mistaken, I want to say she was. We had this conversation before. What?
Probably was. I don't know.
Yeah, somebody famous too was producing her records. Oh, it's I'm pretty sure it's the guy who did the Smashing Pumpkins records is the drummer. Maybe, I don't know. It was linked to something else. We were having a conversation about one day, and I remember her name coming up, and I was surprised that she was associated with that. Yeah, she's got a great voice. Definitely, I don't know what do you got, alternative college vibe. No, not college, but alternative for sure. Sue, or not Sue, me. Duh.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be the odd guy out. So this is Bjork, Vespertine. For anyone who knows Bjork, Bjork is Icelandic. She's a vocalist, a singer-songwriter. She has a very unique singing voice that some notes are not scalable. This record is not easily accessible, but this is one that drew me in big time. I mean, the first record, her debut, which is called Debut, that was big, and obviously there was the MTV, it was all over it.
Darling.
This is from 2001, and I was fortunate enough to see her on tour in Toronto, where a lot of these songs were played with an Icelandic choir and the Philharmonic. So it's big. It's produced ridiculously well, and every note is an interesting piece. So I mean, if you're Alex there who's searching for more female albums, this might be one you'll put on your list to get to eventually. It's not one you probably start with.
This is an episode I might just have to watch back at some point when I have free time, period.
Well, keep watching it, because if we get enough viewership, then we get paid. So just keep watching. I'll take it back to Chef Jeff.
Okay, for my second album, which just went away in my notes, that always happens, is Pat Benatar, which happens to be my favorite female singer by herself. There's nobody better in my book. She knows how to rock. The album is Precious Time, 2015. This was basically released shortly after Crime and Passion, which was, most people say, her best album. And it was a very good album. But this one I liked because it basically has a lot of the writing was done by her, at the time, future husband, Neo, what's his name? Neo Gerbetto. But it's a fabulous album. Now, why it's picked on my number 4th of all time is for one song. She does the absolutely best version of Helter Skelter I've ever heard, including of the Beatles. It's just an unbelievably rocking version of the song. She is Pat Benatar pure in this album. It's punchy, it's rocky, it really hits the point. It keeps you engaged the whole album. I think there's like 9 songs in the album. It keeps you totally engaged. There's a song that she wrote, Evil Genius, which was just really good. It's just said, this is Pat Benatar. If you like punchy rock and you like the female side of it, this is a go-to must-have album. It really is. All I can say is, if you like Pat Benatar, you'll love this album. Back to you, Mark.
Okay. Alex.
So with mine, I went with 2016 Rihanna's Auntie. This is a just straight guilty pleasure album for me. Not a huge, ironically, as a Drake fan, I'm actually really not a huge fan of her track with him on the album. But I think the song I really like to highlight out of this album is Love on the Brain, because it shows so much range in her voice that you don't get to hear with the amount of distortion that you get in other tracks, what you get out of her modern stuff. That track to me is kind of the standout. And this is an album that hits a variety of moods. Obviously love and relationships, to things that are a little bit more soulful, to things that are a little bit more, party side of things too. So covers a wide range, but I mean, namely that one track is one that I wanted to pull off of it, because that's a no skipper for me. I'm a huge throw the playlist on shuffle and see where it goes. And if that comes on, there's something with that voice and that song that just, yeah, I'd love to see what else could be done with that too. So she could play this in concert in 15 years, pull tracks off this album and not miss a beat. So,
but could she do the Super Bowl is what I'm asking. Should she?
She pulled songs off this album for it, but I don't know that was even one of them. So yeah, no, I don't know. I wasn't a fan of the whole. You know what? For a medley, it could have been worse. I don't know. I'm back and forth. Would I have wanted someone else? Yes, but
you wanted yes.
No, I wanted the.
Oh, okay. Hey, all right. Somebody's watching the programs.
Yeah. How do you think you're getting any monetary? No. I don't know. She did a good job for what it was, but yeah, this is just a guilty pleasure one. This is a one that I found out that I had a few songs, more than just 3 or 4 on my playlist that I was like, oh, these are all off the same album. Huh. All right. So this is one I seem to enjoy and didn't even really realize it. So.
All right. Sue.
So for number 4, I went with Tori Amos, Little Earthquakes from 1992. And honestly, I have not listened to it in a little while, but it was really hard to compile on this list, honestly, because I actually have so many to go with, but she was just such a force back then, and this album I think is pretty much her raw, you know, the song of the album name, Little Earthquakes, Crucify, Silent All These Years. I still can't think of anybody who has even come close to matching her in her style. You know, she still stands out. I think, and I know that you know, I've talked to some younger people in my life who have just heard her recently. I think maybe it was Stranger Things. I can't remember, but her voice is just one of those ones. I'm surprised she doesn't. I don't know. I'm surprised she's not more of a presence, but if I turned it on right now, I would sit down and probably listen to it and enjoy it just the same as I did the first time. So she's just so talented. I don't know. Just I can't say that.
Excellent.
I don't know if it's like it's not like an easy listening album or anything like that. You have to, it goes deep, and it's, you know, it's one that you really have to sit and listen to and take in. But definitely worth a listen, I think. Have you heard her, Alex?
Yep.
Yeah. What do you think? I'm curious.
Could I name any of her stuff? Nope. But I've heard her and I've looked up, oh, what is this? See the name. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So that kind of fits that bill where, again, it's, do I have the catalog fully in mind? No, but do I enjoy her? Indeed.
1992, crazy year in music. Crazy.
Yeah. Good year.
Jeff Young.
Going with an album from 1998.
Wonder what album that.
Swedish singer Nina Persson from the Cardigans, 4th album, Gran Turismo. And I forget what their one single was that year, but for whatever reason, I probably bought it in the record bin, the used record store with you one day. And like the album just, it rocks. Like it's way more of a rock album than I ever expected it. And I've loved it ever since.
Yeah, the single's misleading, somewhat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. People.
And even the Deftones did a cover of "Do You Believe" off that album.
Right. Yeah. And then what? One album left, or that was it? One?
No, I have 5.
There's 5 records?
I have 5 for you.
No. No. How many records they
Oh,
have?
I don't know how many they have total. I just know this was the 4th one. There was at least 5.
Okay. I know it wasn't like after that came out, there was like one more, and that was it. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. There's probably like one, and then maybe a best of or something.
Yeah. So good show. I like that. Okay. So for my number 4, I'm the same as Sue.
It's almost like you two should be married.
I don't know, maybe.
Oh,
So in 1992, this pianist, classically trained pianist, technically sits down and writes one of the most ridiculous albums of all time. It's her, a piano, a producer, and this you know how people go and they say when they listen to Metallica's Saint Anger, the drums just demand your attention, it's too much. This woman writes
If
this
this
album.
were a game show, I'd try to buzz in. I think I know who you're gonna say.
It was definitely like that. She demands your attention. Every lyrical line is delivered very crisp. There's no chewing of her U's. There's no the flow of it. It is, in my opinion, one of the greatest female solo albums of all time, maybe the best of all time. Production is awesome, and she does not too many people pull an a cappella song off completely and utterly in 1992 and get as it obviously didn't get radio play for reasons that it wouldn't, but it was probably the most talked about song in the year of 1992. Bar none. That's my pick, and I thank Sue for seconding, or me seconding her.
I didn't even
Back
hear
to
you. I didn't even hear you say the name of who it was. I just heard you talk about it.
Oh,
Who
it's
was it?
Tori Amos's Little Earthquake.
Okay.
Same picture. I'm going along with the picture part of the show.
And Tori Amos would play two pianos at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah, that happened, yeah.
I can't even play a half of one piano at the solo time. Actually, I'm still learning hot cross buns and the 3 notes that takes.
Wow. I thought you just put those in the oven and they're ready.
Yeah. On a
And
good
Chef
day.
Jeff with music bites.
Jeff.
Hey, Chef Jeff, if you want, I can get rid of those birds for you. Meow.
Okay, anyway, my next album is somebody that I really know. I was when I was younger and 15, 16, I really enjoyed Billie Holiday. Somebody turned me on to this singer who is basically in the same genre of music, Nina Simone.
Mhm.
The album is Sing the Blues, 1967. This is a classic album. This lady was never got the fame she deserved. She had a voice that was absolutely incredible, on the same as Billie Holiday or Ella Fitzgerald. Same kind of dynamic, jazzy, earthy voice. I love her. I've have everything she's ever produced. This is a much rawer version. This is she usually performed with big bands behind her or large orchestra. This was basically maybe 6 or 8 people behind her, which gave her voice a lot more push. I just love this album. My favorite of the song on the album is Mr. Backlash. It was very political at the time, but it was great. If you guys are into Ella or you guys are into any of the old blues, this is an album for you. This will really pique your interest in the blues. Mark, back to you.
So for me,
Mark, do you have one of hers or no?
All of them.
What? Yeah, I know you said you did. Do you have one, Mark? Because I know
I
we
have
just
Soul.
so okay.
Which is a
I
good
might-
album too.
I
That's
might
a
have
very
another
good
one,
album.
but I couldn't see that it was. I didn't get to check all the way. Alex, you're next.
So this is another one that I didn't realize how many songs I liked that were on the same album as I listened to it, but 2015 Carrie Underwood Storyteller. So what I do remember about this album being in the peak of her success and kind of being in that midway point of her career from start to present where we are now, it's that this was definitely a step away from pop and a little bit back more to her country roots. She definitely brought a little bit of her twang back for this one. Yeah, that short and sweet from 2015. Yeah, this was one of my favorites for sure. I mean, this came after a greatest hits album for her that she released, and then this was her first kind of right back into everything. So I think this one and her subsequent next album after this in 2018, Cry Pretty, those two really good. And she's someone whose voice I've always admired. It's tough to toe that line between country and pop, I think, and still be someone that leans more to the country side than the pop, but she does it really well. And she's someone who keeps her voice really raw, really authentic, and actually had a really good interview on Howard Stern recently too that I enjoyed watching. So
All right, back to Sue.
So number 3 is Susan Tedeschi, live from Austin, Texas, 2004. Honestly, I don't think there's a song that she sang that I don't enjoy. But I picked this album just because I mean, if someone's gonna be picking her up for the first time, I think it's a good place to start. If you haven't heard her, shame on you. But she's got an incredible voice and it's soulful and it's bluesy. I think she can cover anything. And yeah, I don't think, I mean, I'm trying to think of when I first heard her. It's incredible how many talented singers are out there that you don't know exist, and then you're like, whoa, like they've been around, she's been around for a long time. So, and also touring with her husband, David Trucks, right? So, but she doesn't need anybody. She's good all on her own. I highly suggest it. It's a great album, but anything from her, I think you'll enjoy it, love it, and so yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I remember the day you picked that out of the bin. I obviously, my wife spends a lot of time in a record store against her will. So she pulled that out. I had never heard of her at all, and I was surprised to go right to a live record, because that's kind of something you don't you're I don't gravitate to. I want to hear an album first before I go to live. But when we put it on in the car, it was magical. She's an excellent blues guitarist as well, and that is probably a quintessential place to start. And for me, that might be the best album of hers solo wise, just how it's done. Anything that the Tedeschi Trucks band does right now, they are the biggest, the best blues band on tour right now, and they can, they're also getting into jam. I mean, that's for sure. So, but yeah, excellent pick.
A favorite of my mother too, so I definitely have heard good selection there.
Cool.
All right, Jeff Young.
This time I'm going more rockish, more hard / heavy metal. And this is from 2009. Sorry, 1995. No, 2005. 2005.
Okay.
It's a debut album from Flyleaf with Lacey Storm as the singer. And the girl's like, she's probably only like 4'9", but she belts out the lyrics and she can scream, because a lot of the guys in the hard rock bands, and it's probably their best album in my opinion. But it's worth listening to. Every time I put it on, I forget how good it is.
I think I remember that.
Which record?
The debut, just self-titled.
Oh, self-titled debut. Okay, yep. The one some yellow.
Kind of like it's kind of like tannish with like a dark image, like with wings in the middle.
Yeah, I remember.
Almost like a crucifix.
Yeah, doesn't she growl too?
Yeah, well the thing is too, yeah, and she quit, singing after like a few albums, and hasn't been in the business for a long time. But this year she's returning, and she's playing festivals with Flyleaf, like real huge 3-day festivals in like Vegas and a couple other places. But I don't think she's performed in like over a decade.
Yeah, I was I remember being surprised at like hearing that. Kitty like that I could understand.
I mean, she's like a. I remember going to a concert. She was explaining how she was survived. So she survived. She tried to commit suicide. She had a lot of issues growing up, and she said she later in her interview she quit being a musician just to try to be a good mom and all that stuff. So I guess she's back performing now. So
maybe it's her, Sue, who's on The Masked Singer.
Maybe.
Not at 4'9", I don't think.
No, that's too short.
I'm still a season behind. I haven't even caught up to the new stuff yet.
Oh, we'll just tell you who everybody is and ruin it for you.
I've never seen it, so.
Oh, you would love that show. It's fun.
So my next one is a Canadian. Probably at one point she had one of the best rock voices in Canada, and her name is Holly McNarland. Her album Stuff. Without getting too far into it, because I believe one of our panelists has been challenged with this record for a couple weeks from now.
I was going to use that as well today.
Well, you're more than welcome to it. This is from 1997. This is an angry woman's alternative record with wonderful vocals. This is the non-Alanis Morissette of Canada. I guess there's no clever rhyming schemes and stuff. It's darker. She's angry, and she might have been the angriest Canadian there was at that.
I think she's got a good combination of edge and grace.
Mhm. Her daughter also has a beautiful voice.
Really?
Mhm.
Is she an actual singer? Or
Don't know. I think she's in like the high school years at this point, but I follow her on one of the channels, and every so often she posts a little snippet, and she sounds really nice.
Yeah, I thought for a second you just compared her to a combination of The Edge from U2 and Grace Potter. And that'd be one heck of a combo.
It's not like that, but yeah, she just has a voice that goes right through you, and then she sings. It's
Mhm.
ridiculous. But more on that in a few episodes when we have when I have an album channel. Back to Chef Jeff.
In the house today. I'm sorry I had to move. The storm opened up and it's now pouring around me. So I'm still outside, but I'm in the corner now. So my next album is a good album. I've heard it many, many times. It's Joni Mitchell, Blues, 19 or just Blue,
Just Blue.
1971. Basically, this was an album that when she produced it, she was going through a very blue period in her life. She was ending her longtime relationship with Graham Nash and starting a relationship with James Taylor. So, and there was a lot of bickering and stuff like that. And if you were around like I was during that time, it made Rolling Stone magazine and all kinds of stuff. So it's a very sad, I think if you listen to it, you can feel her emotion in the album. I think it's one of her best albums. In a direction of may not have been popular, at least with the critics or with the public, but it was really, really Joni at her best. It was just really, really her. I really enjoyed it. It had a lot of songs that were. It was very funny. James Taylor wrote a couple songs for her, and the album was produced by Graham Nash. So he had a little bit of this and that, all put in there. So if you guys have a chance sometime when you just feel like you're in a blue mood or just want to relax, this is a great song to listen to. So or a great album to listen to. Mark, back to you.
Yeah, I will give our listeners if you want to hear a little snippet of something that pertains to Joni and this record. Rick Beato does an interview with Maynard Kane of Tool. And they come to the point of talking about influences. And it's crazy when you think of Tool that one of his influences is Joni Mitchell. And he says, Beato says to him, I interviewed Joni. He goes, really? He goes, yeah, we talked about albums and obviously stuff. And I asked her what she thought was the most beautiful record. It came out exactly how she wanted to it, the one she loved and all that. And she didn't say Blue. And Maynard's comment was, well, she's wrong. It's Blue. I think every critic says it's Blue, right? It's a fantastic record. It's a beautiful choice, and it'll probably be on anyone's list of top 10 female albums.
She had a lot of very famous boyfriends. She really, she was with Dylan.
Don't embarrass me. Don't embarrass me.
It's okay, Jeff. We'll keep that under the hat. So, but
yeah, Bob Dylan.
Yeah, Bob Dylan. A whole list of she basically. I'm not going to say go from one to another, but she definitely had a very much. Her boyfriend list looked like an A list of rockers.
I'm gonna look up to see if she was with Rico Suave. All right. I'll give it to Alex.
So I'm confident I can say now that we're into the twos that this is the black sheep of the favorite albums of this episode. Fergie's The Duchess is one of the best guilty pleasure, pure, you just want to have fun listening to this albums that I have come across. This one goes back to my high school days when you would just be annoyed by the top 40 station playing. You'd hear the same song for like 8 months. But as I kind of got older and the idea of a throwback comes through where you hear a song that you haven't heard in years and it takes you right back into that moment. There's 2 or 3 songs on this album that were in that realm, but overall, there's actually, again, another album that for me, you didn't realize how many songs that were all off the same album. And she does a good job covering topics where she gets out of the fun and starts moving into some really good themes and expressing her emotions. So it's got a good range on this album. And honestly, this one's just one that I'm not ashamed to admit that is really good for me. It's a complete guilty pleasure. I'll hear a song come on and go, nope, that album's going on in full right now. And
Nice.
just enjoyable.
Sensing a theme amongst your picks, guilt and pleasure. It's like the chicken
I
and egg.
know.
I don't know what comes first, guilt or pleasure.
It's better than the Edge and Grace Potter combination. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's Soup.
My number 2 is Melissa Etheridge, Brave and Crazy, 1989. What to say about this album? I think it's the one that drew me into her and made me like an instant fan, just because again, I think it was really I don't know how to put it into words, but it was her personality, not just the lyrics, but the music, and the entire, I don't think there's a bad song on the album. It's almost poetic the way the lyrics come together and the way she sings them, which I enjoy. And this one, I think, Mark, this came before 2001.
Oh yes, yeah.
That was her next album.
Brave and Crazy, and then yep, 2001 would
Yeah.
be next. I'm pretty sure.
And I also I had a hard time because I enjoyed that one too, but again, this one I just feel like I don't know, it's just a genuine, authentic album from Melissa. I think by the time I got to like Come to My Window, she felt a lot more watered down to me. I still enjoy her, she's still incredible, but that one, it's kind of a fun mix of songs. I don't even know how you explain it. How do you explain Melissa Etheridge? Like, what is her
Well,
sound?
if I was going to, first of all, there was Yes I Am came between.
Yes, I Am came between.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
I think she projects strength.
Strength.
Yeah. She, when I think of her, there's 2 musicians that come immediately. My thing of her is like, I feel like everything is all out there. She doesn't leave anything to, she's giving everything she's got in the songwriting, in the playing of the guitar. I think she has a vibe she knows she's not the best guitarist, but she's a great lyricist.
She's pretty good guitarist.
Pardon?
Pretty good guitarist.
Yeah, but I mean, she's not gonna, wail Dixie, and she holds her own, and her delivery is genuine. It's heartfelt. It can go from low to high. She's basically a Bryan Adams and a Bruce Springsteen wrapped up into one. And every song anybody can relate to, no matter what the male-female relationship situation can be. Because when you heard those songs, you could think it's male-female, but obviously it was female-female. So she's a hell of a performer.
And I just think she did what she wanted to do, and she was not trying to I mean, around that time, she wasn't trying to fit into the grain. There was so much pop going on at the time. And yeah, so.
Yeah. The one thing I really admire on all the music and everything we talk about is people that they let the audience follow them. They don't try to get followed by the audience. Like, oh, I got to make a pop song. Oh, I got to make this song. I got to do something popular. Those are people that I respect more than anything. They do what's going on at that moment for them, for what they're feeling and they just put it out there. And she definitely put it out there. And she might have the best 4-album run in a female that I've ever. Her debut, which is just Melissa Etheridge, Brave and Crazy, Yes I Am, and 2001 are just boom, boom, boom. There's nothing's missed there. And whoever was producing those at that time, if there were different producers, they knew how to make it happen. What?
And meanwhile, all the band members go, fine, we'll only do what you want to do.
Well, and she is really good with the guitar too. I have to disagree with you there. So she's the reason I went out and got a guitar. So
that's
just saying.
Jeff Young.
Well, I picked Harley McNarland too, but I will just add, because Alex's going to listen to that album. I don't know if you know this, but she actually did a duet with Jeff Martin of the Tea Party. So if you're interested, that's out there too.
Not only Jeff Martin, but Matthew Good as well.
Right.
You guys are giving me like good little teasers for me to look forward to listening to this.
That's my entire job, my friend. Teaser.
Is that true, Sue?
Well,
I don't get it.
All
This
right.
is why we
Okay.
can't have nice things.
So my next album, Numero Dos, is 1988's debut record from Tracy Chapman. This,
Should've known.
pardon?
Should have known you'd pick that.
I know. I knew he would.
It came out in a time where everything that she was putting down lyrically was matching up with society and things that she wanted to expose. She has a one-of-a-kind voice in that delivery. She wasn't using vulgarity or anything of that nature. She was using a simple folk rock blues style, and it's a gorgeous record. And another artist who uses a cappella in a record, which is dangerous, really, in my opinion. But it's one of the most beautiful done songs. I have a guilt in that I could in my youth with one of the people I was with, the band and stuff, I could sing like Tracy, so I can pull it off. So it was close to me, very close to me. I'm sad that she has not done a record in forever. I was hearing things that maybe that was the case. She was going to come back, but it's definitely one of the records that would be in my top 5 of all.
And her, I think I told you the other day, her song "Fast Car" was just covered by, I think, Luke Combs, country singer.
I texted you that too as well, Mark. Yep.
Yeah, it's really good. He did a good
Yeah,
job.
I like it.
Mhm. Yep.
Back to Chef Jeff for his number 1.
Number 1 pick. Well, I'm probably gonna get boos and hisses by the other panelists, but you got to do what you got to do. So my last one is one of my favorite albums. I listened to it. In fact, I listened to it before Mark reminded me we had this tonight. This is Dolly Parton's Coat of Many Colors, 1971.
It's not Tony Basil, so I will not boo this.
I love this album. There's nothing I can say. I just love this album. It's Dolly. It is all Dolly. She almost has a childish kind of voice when she does this particular genre of songs. This is pure Dolly. I mean, there's really nothing to say. If you haven't heard this album, You should listen to it. If you don't like country, you should still listen to it anyway. You know, but this is the quintessential Dolly. What can you say? Besides Coat of the Many Colors, there are a lot of songs on this thing that as one reviewer put, they're sad ass songs, but they work. They really do. Dolly's not for everybody. I know that for a fact. There's a lot of friends who think she's awful, but you know, I don't think anybody who's got her fame and her notoriety is awful at anything. She's a fabulous actor too. So, but if you haven't heard this, you definitely need to listen to it at least once. Mark, back to you.
I'm trying to think if I've listened to that record all the way through or not. I can't remember, but I will probably go back to it. I mean, what, 1971?
Correct.
So she's not a kid at that point. She's, you know.
No, she was I think in her late 20s, early 30s, I
Early
believe.
30s.
Or at that. Yeah.
All right.
But
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up because I might go back to that. I haven't.
Oh, it's
Mark
a good
didn't
album.
listen to it because he wasn't alive yet.
That's right.
Most of the stuff I listened to, you guys weren't alive yet.
Yeah. All right, Alex, you're number one.
So this album was the first time that I viewed this particular artist differently. I always have a pet peeve that she gets called country, which I absolutely hate because she is clearly anything but since her debut. But Taylor Swift's album Reputation from 2017, it was, and I know once you listen to the album, it's not about this, but it was an album that just gave such a middle finger to things, especially going on with her life. And it kind of talks about like what Mark just said about putting something out that just fit with what you were feeling in the moment. Taylor's always been pretty good with that. And this was an album for me that kind of changed it because it wasn't so much the cutesy pop, what will the fans follow type of feel. This was kind of her breakout into, well, I'm going to do what I want to do. And I think this was her last album with that particular record company before she started getting a little more daring and doing things on her own. So, also found out that this album had a lot of Game of Thrones not references, but inspiration to it. Even some songs that were written about it. So when I went back to look into this album a little bit before the show and learn a little bit more about it, I was pleasantly surprised to find that out. I'm not a huge Game of Thrones fan, but when I hear the theme of the music to what I expect of Game of Thrones, because I tried to get into it and didn't really care for it, but I could still grasp it. Did a good job fitting that too, which was kind of a hidden underlying theme to the whole album. So yeah, this was overall just one that made me change my thought process of her. And she's someone that I would love to hear do. I mean, I'd be lucky to get a song, but some sort of rock based album. I've always said that her song Eyes Open from the Hunger Games soundtrack was the closest thing I'll get to hearing her really encapsulate her voice over a rock background. But that she's someone I would love to hear do that one day.
I would imagine that she is eventually someone who will sing a Bond song. It could happen.
I could definitely see it.
She's an enigma. I will say this too. She is the only artist from youth into transitioning that didn't sound like a total putz. All these other artists got to use the sex language and the F word and try to make themselves sound older, and they sound stupid.
And she'll address the sex topic and do it so subtly you don't even realize she did it.
She did a very good job. That album is not on my favorite list. It's overproduced maybe for me, but she's done other work that's fantastic. And the recent album she did a concept record. Nice that she's trying things, and that's great. And I like that.
I think with this one, it was more for me that it strayed so much away from her line of albums and being so cute with them that this was the first time it was just kind of like, bam, I'm just gonna hit you with something completely odd, different, and go a little bit harder and a little bit more than what she's been doing before.
And we certainly have her to thank for the rise of record sales. Her fans buy more vinyl albums than any artist on the planet. We're going to Sue now for her numero uno.
So it felt cliche picking it. But I did go with Billie Holiday, and I went with the greatest hits 2004, just because I like the selection of songs on there. If I'm gonna tell someone to go listen to her, this is like a good grouping of music. Do I relate to Billie Holiday? Probably not so much, but again, I want to say I started listening maybe in college, end of college, right after college, and just fell in love with her voice. It is a musical instrument. It's obviously kind of it's got that sad, deep, tragic tone to it, but every single note is thought out. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe it came so easily for her. She didn't have to really put too much effort into it. I don't know. But yeah, some of the songs that are on this album that I love, like Fine Romance, God Bless the Child, Stormy Weather, These Foolish Things, Summertime, of course, but there's so many more. And if you've never listened to Billie Holiday, you should listen to Billie Holiday. I think she's influenced just so much out there, and yeah, there's no excuse not to pick it up tomorrow.
Do it
and start
now.
right
She's
now.
the queen of soul.
Yeah,
Really is. The queen of the blues. She's wonderful.
yeah, absolutely. But I do want to say I have a whole other list, so you'll have to do this another time because I feel bad.
Oh,
And
well,
and
we'll get to the end of this, and I'm gonna ask the panelists. So we'll move to Mr. Young, who can give us his numero uno.
I mean, numero uno really is, probably Holly Maryland, but I just kind of gave you the five. I didn't really give them in order, but the last one I have for you is Beth Gibbons, singer of Portishead. So the debut album, Dummy, in 1994, I think it was. It was a critically acclaimed album, but for as good as it sounds on record, it sounds really good live too. And it's just a little bit eclectic, but it's just one of those albums for me where when I first heard it, I was like, how can I not listen to this? It's just so interesting.
Yeah, when that came out, that was a stunner. It was just something that wasn't going on at the time. Totally unique. It was almost like they were singing underwater. She was singing underwater. I don't know. And in the video, I think it's
It's like a combination, like singing delicately, but it was powerful too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Cool. All right. So let's see how well my panelists know me.
Pretty well.
What's my number one female solo album? My favorite.
No hints.
No,
Mhm.
I guess we have to go to my wife or her choice.
No rupee here, Jeff.
I could give you a few guesses. I don't know that I would know it.
I'm gonna go. I have a strong feeling. My gut just wants
Alex,
to
you
say
have no chance in hell.
I wanted to go Nora.
What'd you say?
Nora.
No.
That was just where my gut was gonna guess.
Yeah, out of the 57 albums I had, Nora Jones was not on. Although fabulous art. Jeff, you get a couple of guesses if you want.
Is it Canadian or American?
Yeah, good question.
American.
The fact you had to think, Sarah McLaughlin.
No, she would be Canadian. Although I do believe that one of her records is one of the greatest albums. of all time.
Well, is it one that we already heard from?
Today? No.
Yeah.
I don't have a clue.
Well, Jeff, yeah, it would be tough. But I wonder, because Sue thought Tracy Chapman would be on there. She probably knew Tori Amos would be on there.
I don't know,
All right.
'cause you're so tough, like you could
I'll
go,
let you off the hook.
oh, okay, yeah.
Heather Nova, Oyster.
Mhm.
I have
I'm
no
going to
chance.
assume that besides Sue and Jeff, that no one else has heard this record.
I would not
Heather
have guessed.
Nova is from Bermuda. She's a Bermudian singer. She is a soprano. She has one of the most beautiful voices that can do just about anything. She sang with Pavarotti and Bublé and all these. Well, maybe not Bublé. What's the other one? Opposite Pavarotti. What? Yeah, forget it. So this record is her second record, but it is the most dynamic. It is an alternative pop record for the most part, but there is huge elements of dark undertones. She has melody in her voice that's, I don't know, just out of this world. It's what some people talk about as a soprano, an angelic soprano.
Mhm.
So there's a song on the record called Sugar, and it has lyrics that are so well wound and put together that talk about her boyfriend at the time. She makes a reference to this guy's father's pancakes, that they're round and perfect. She's making a reference to how her body was not round and it wasn't perfect. And she gets more and more into the anger of it all, and the song goes wild. And there is also a song on there where she sings not a word, but just what would you call it, Sue? A vibrato or whatever she's doing. And everyone in concert waits for that to happen because they're waiting for it. She can hold a note for a very long time and bend it to her will. So she's my number one. So I want to ask the panelists if they want to do this again with females, because like Sue said, this was extremely difficult. It's kind of nonsense, to be honest with you. I had 47 other albums, we can, just quickly run through them, but I'd rather not. Maybe we'll do this. We'll do a part two. What does everybody think? Part two someday?
Part two.
Part two?
Yeah, because I would definitely amend even adding some, like Jeff was doing, some female fronts, but with bands. So I could
Mhm.
definitely add some in that way.
Yeah, I didn't go that way, but I would love to have one where there's a female.
Go that
front.
way? All right.
Yeah.
All right. So
I
Because
could definitely do that.
I like
I
it.
would
I
have
like it.
changed my whole list in that case, but
Nice. All right. So we are going to do this again in 2 weeks. And we're going to do it with the boys. So it'll be favorite male solo album. And to preface, so that we don't have the issues that we had that we're doing this, make sure that it's just a solo record and not a fronted male band, because dear Lord, there's way too many of those. So let's just keep it in that realm. So I want to thank my panelists for sharing their favorites. We're on the web at www.beyondyourradio.com. I probably don't even have to say www anymore. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Yeah, I had a Pinterest at one time. I'm sure it's still out there. Please like, comment, and do subscribe. I'm sure that now that we've had this much of a panelist, it'll be even bigger this time. Check out Album Review Saturdays, Unknown Sundays. More new shows coming and plenty of articles on the website. Happy listening.
aloha.